Okay then. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our July face-to-face meeting. Thank you. We do have two online, Councillor Arwell and Councillor David. Welcome as well, and Trish. Yeah, Trish is online as well, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you,
Peter. Thank you, Chair.
Also welcome, Aeon. We have Luke here. Colin is here, but he's in the interview room. He's on another call at the moment. He'll be joining us later, will he, Luke? So welcome. Lovely to see some of the pension team here as well. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoy yourself. You might want to leave. There'll be resignations after this, Chris.
Well, I hope not, Chair. I'll introduce Charlotte and Liz as we get to the item, if that's okay. Thank you.
Okay, apologies.
No apologies, Chair.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest from members relating to items to be considered on the agenda. Can I say I'm a member of
Sorry, Chair. Can I just give an apology, please?
Yes, go
on. I'll have to leave just before 12 because I've got to be in Swansea before 1 o'clock. So my apologies, Chair.
Thank you, David. Okay then, declaration of interest. I'm a member of the Powys Pension Fund. Anyone else? Karina? The same. David? Oh, Hugh, me, sorry. All right, sorry. And Adam?
Yeah, likewise, Chair, member of the pension.
Very well.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Minutes to authorise the Chair to sign the minutes of the last meeting held on the 25th of March 2026 as correct record. I don't want to hand over to any questions. Adam?
Can I raise a point that was on the email exchange with you about the way in which we recorded the item, forgive me, it's not in front of me, over the review for the governance of the new company. And specifically, it was trying to make the point that in the discussion we had in the meeting, we talked about doing that within the lifetime of this committee, and that the minutes didn't quite capture that. And I think, Chris, you offered a suggested amendment that I was on
Okay, I think Gemma's dealing. Gemma, would I come in, please?
Yes, of course. Councillor Adam, are you referring to the minutes of March 26 or February 26? I believe that discussion was around the minutes of February 26.
Yes, I believe February.
Okay, so if
sorry, I've come in on the wrong point.
That's okay. If we could pause on the February, and we will come back to that. If I could ask Chair if anyone has any amendments or comments to make on the March minutes, or if they can be accepted as a matter of record, please.
Sorry, everybody happy with the March minutes?
Happy.
Right, thank you. Okay, sorry, I can do the screen there. Okay, it's lovely. Over to you, Gemma.
So the February minutes were ratified at the last meeting, which means they are now a matter of record and cannot be amended. However, through an email exchange with Councillor Adam and Chris, I believe there was a suggested addendum. So if Councillor Adam, you'd like to propose that addendum, and then Chair, it's up to you whether or not you're willing to accept that. If you are, then we need a seconder and a vote on that addendum. Okay. So would you like me to get the exact wording?
Please.
Please bear with me one moment. So in a comment made in the minutes of February 26, it stated, one of the questions was, could a specific review of the IMCO board structure and membership of the shareholder forum be undertaken as part of the governance review planned for 2027? Councillor Adams' proposed addendum is that we add the words by the sitting committee. So the new phrase would be, could a specific review of the IMCO board structure and the membership of the shareholder forum be undertaken by the sitting committee as part of the governance review planned for 2027? So that's the proposal. Councillor Adam, can you confirm that's what you're proposing?
Yes, okay.
Fantastic. So we need a seconder and a vote for that to be added as an addendum, and then that will feature on the minutes of this meeting, because we cannot go back and alter the minutes of February.
Thank you, Gemma. Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, I'm happy to second.
Thank you. Can I have a show of hands? All in favour?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So you're happy to put this addendum to these minutes, and Yeah, lovely. Are you okay with that, Gemma?
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you very
Chair.
much. Thanks for your help. Thank you. Yeah, so I can sign these a true and correct record now. Sorry, Gemma?
Apologies, Chair. We didn't actually formally acknowledge the minutes of March. We agreed it, but we didn't vote to
No,
say
I
we're
just,
happy
I
with them.
didn't.
So thank
Yeah, kind
you.
of propose and second. Are you happy with the minutes now? Hugh? Karina? Show of hands, please. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you. Approve the minutes. I can sign them. I'll sign them sometime. Okay then, Chair's opening remarks. Been a busy week. Myself and Chris have been at the LAPF strategic, I never hate to say this word, strategic forum in Watford from Monday till Wednesday. So, which is very informative. There's still a lot going on with pooling, etc. And very beneficial to be there. And I think everything else will be on the agenda. IMCO, etc. will be updated. You'll be updating that. Okay then. Pension board update for the committee. I think that's over to Chris.
It is, yes. Thanks, Chair. Usually, the committee will be aware that this is delivered by a pension
Yeah.
board chair, and the committee will be aware that David had to step down from his position at the end of May. So, as the secretary to the board, I'll be delivering a very high-level update for committee at this meeting on the board's behalf. So, there's a statement that he and I agreed, which is in front of you on page 11 onwards, and essentially, the majority of the pension board meeting in May was spent discussing amendments to regulations. The committee will be more than aware that there's been lots happening in the LGPS recently. So a lot of the focus was on what does this mean for the fund? How are we going to make sure we adhere to the regulations and the timescales and whatnot? And the consequence of that was some recommendations that are coming to committee on a later item on the agenda in terms of the risk register, some minor amendments to the risk register. There's also some concern around the new roles that are being created under the regulations. So the independent member for the committee and also the senior LGPS officer. And the concerns are around availability and capacity within the industry to be able to support funds. There's 85, 86 of us who are looking for these individuals now. So there's a lot of discussion around that. And at that point, the guidance hadn't been issued. It has been issued now. So it came out, I think it was whilst we were in Watford, didn't it? It came out a day or so ago. So I haven't had the chance to review that completely yet. However, it's, from what I understand, there's no big surprises in there. So that primarily was what the discussion focused on. And I tried to capture that in its implications to the committee at the end of the document. And that's focusing on the governance readiness. The big one is the statutory appointment of a senior LGPS officer. There's a statutory deadline attached to that by the end of the year. There's dates attached to independent governance reviews and appointing this independent member to the committee as well. So quite a lot of work that Charlotte and I will have to get on with to present to committee in the not too distant future about how we're going to tackle these challenges. There was discussion around McLeod, and we'll touch on that later on the agenda. That's on the agenda as well. And really a lot of discussion around the impact on the administration team. The regulations that came in April are the first half of a set of amendments to give the administration team 6 months to work on the first bit, and then we expect some more in October. So it's the impact on the administration team, and we have actually seen an impact in terms of some of the survivor benefits work as well. So essentially around risks attached to these amendments. The other big one obviously was the investment management company that was discussed, and discussions around risks associated with creating this company, primarily around really data exchange and information exchange between the two entities. We've been working with the WPP as it has been since 2017, 2018. We're going into a new world. We need to make sure the processes are in place to be able to deal with that. That's also captured in the amendment to the risk register later on. So that was it. That was the high level delivery. Hopefully it gives committee some assurances that the board have dived quite deeply into this. And I'll be working with the pension board and obviously Jane as the Section 141 officer over the next few weeks and months to make sure we implement what we need to. So that was all I was going to say on that. Chair, happy to take any questions. If there are
Any questions? Karina?
Just simple things in a way. So you're starting up a new company while another entity is running. So you need to talk to each other. I did read the papers. It's costing a bit more than we thought, isn't it? And also, did there seem to be a hiatus in between when you thought you were going to start it up and when it is actually starting? Yes.
Shall I pick that one up now as part of this? Yeah, it'll probably come on later on, Karina. Yeah, so essentially the big thing that was in the regulations was an FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, regulated investment management company. And the government gave us a deadline of the 31st of March, essentially saying you need to be ready by 31st of March. Regulations will take effect from the 1st of April. The company will launch on the 1st of April. The regulations didn't take effect until Tuesday, 30th of June. So that delay between the 1st of April and the 30th of June is not nothing that the IMCO or the us as funds have been able to do anything about. It's because the regulations haven't been in place. So now the regulations are in place, that process can now kick in and we can actually progress things. Yeah. So we're working on the actual go live date at this point in time, but things have been delayed because of the implementation regulations.
Jane?
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on the senior officer requirement. So as that post is actually employed by the authority, we may well have to take that through the governance arrangements of the council, and it may be subject to council approval. So I'm working that through, but just to give you assurance, we're working that through. Committee obviously will be involved, and I'll keep you updated on that, but you may well see it going through council as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of that.
Yeah, I think Jane, it is important part of the next step. Lovely. Okay, no more questions? No, okay then. Happy to note to report, please. Happy, thank you, Hugh, Karina, thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Item 6, administration and governance update. Chris.
Thank you, Chair. Before I dive into the report, which I don't like to start with apologies at the front, at the start of the report, but this one's long, so I'll try my best to keep it as concise as I can for committee. But I just want to take the opportunity to just introduce a couple of our team members who are sat off camera. The committee will be aware that we did a restructure a couple of years ago and been working that through. Very pleased to be able to invite Charlotte and Liz along today just to meet everybody and just so you can see some other faces from the pension fund, not just me. So the fact we're in person today, it was an opportunity to be able to get some of the team in front of you. So Charlotte is our Governance and Communications Officer, newly appointed, and Liz is our Employer and Training Officer. So those are both picking up those responsibilities for the fund, which is really, really helpful and really positive step forward. So welcome both to your first meeting. Hope you enjoy it. And thanks for coming along. The intention was to bring some more of the team along today as well, but unfortunately there's a conference taking place on the systems, so that'll have to wait till next time, and I'll bring some more of the team along just so committee can get familiar with the pensions team.
Oh, welcome. So, it's good to see the extra resources for the pension fund. Welcome.
They do all the work.
Huh?
They do all the work.
I'll do all the way. Yeah, no, Chris is.
That wasn't on microphone, I don't think. Okay, thank you. So I'll continue. So we've already talked this morning about changes to regulations and the complexities and whatnot. So I did my best in this report to try and summarise it into one document for committee and just pick out the important bits. So I don't intend to go through it bullet point by bullet point due to the length of it. But I think it's important that committee know, well, they already know because I talk about it all the time, how much is going on, basically. So this report's collated with information from the industry and also using bulletins and industrial updates that we get, or industry updates that we get from the government. And if we start with Section 2, this is just confirming the point I made earlier about the regulations are now in effect. At the time of writing this report, it was expected they were going to be in place by the 30th of June. That has now happened. So the fit for the future regulations, if we call them that, are now in force and take effect on the 30th of June. There are various timescales attached to that in terms of these appointments we just talked about, and some new elements in respect of independent governance reviews that we have to think about over the next couple of years, essentially. So we'll work through that as a fund and senior officers and bring that to committee when we've got a plan for you. 2.1 is talking about the legislation that came in April. Some bullet points there basically summarise what they meant. And the big impact for the team is on the equalisation of survivor benefits. I won't go into the detail now, but what that means is that we have to review some death cases and amend benefits and correct benefits and contact scheme members if they're actually impacted by this. In terms of what that meant for the fund, this was seen as a big enough amendment to regulations to trigger a disclosure requirement in the regulations. What that means is we had to write to our scheme members, essentially. So we sent out many thousand communications over the past week or so, which Charlotte helpfully coordinated. And that's quite a significant piece of work. That's a communications piece, which we've had to do as a result of amendments to regulations. And that letter essentially said, we know we've got to do this and we'll contact you if you're impacted by this, essentially. So that work is ongoing in the background, and we'll write to those affected scheme members in due course. We have had some guidance around that, and we've been following some template wording and whatnot. But the communications went out in time within the requirements of disclosure regulations, so that's all done. Section 2.2 looks at the Scheme Advisory Board. They produced their annual scheme report and some other bullet points there, which are all summarised on the Scheme Advisory Board's website. I didn't include it within this report because it would have been even longer, so the information is there for you to go and click on and read should you choose to. 2.3 is just for information. I'm not going to go into the detail, except to say it's added another layer of complexity into purchasing or buying back lost periods of pension membership since April. So that's added another layer of complexity for the team to deal with, I'm afraid. Just that information. Pension dashboards. The fund connected to the ecosystem in line with the timescales in October, and we're waiting now for the public launch of dashboards, which we expect to be later this year. And we really don't know what the impact is going to be on the fund or the administration team until it goes live. It might be a nice smooth launch and it works perfectly on day one. It could be that it generates a lot of queries. We really don't know because this is brand new. So we'll have to wait and see what that means for our admin team. But in terms of our requirements, we're there. The data's in a good quality and a good place. So we're hoping that when it goes live, it'll just happen and we'll be able to manage it. But I'll keep you updated on that. Obviously, data protection, cybersecurity 2.5, very, very topical. There's been a change to the way complaints are handled under data protection and cybersecurity, and that's captured in bulletin 2.5. So again, that's something else we'll have to think about when it comes to how we respond to and monitor complaints. 2.6 is McLeod, which I'll pick up as part of a later agenda item. And I've tried to summarise it in paragraph section 3 in bullet point form. What does it mean for us? So that's what we're focusing on, those 5 bullet points there, implementing the legislation essentially. I'll stop there before I move on to the next section about the risk register. Take any questions if there are any, Chair.
Any questions? Hugh?
Chris, were there any lessons learned from the data breach in the education department? Is that relevant to us in any shape or form?
Thank you. Sorry, Jen, do you want to come in at all? Or?
Shall I come in?
Yes, please, wouldn't mind. Yeah, thank you.
Just, I mean, any breach, anything that happens across the council, we take learning from. These things do happen from time to time. You know, it's the world that we live in, unfortunately. So we're always looking at how we can protect the authority better. So as with anything, as I said, that learning will be applied and we'll consider that across the organisation. So just to give you that assurance that we do learn every time something happens.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Chris, yeah, go ahead.
Just to add to that, I was very close to bringing a cyber policy to committee for approval at this meeting. It was approved by the pension board a few months ago. I was in dialogue with the head of ICT security at the council in terms of the policy. I wasn't able to wrap up that conversation in time to bring it to committee for this meeting. But we have got a high level framework in place. And obviously, as a fund, we would operate with the council and the ICT security at the council when it comes to managing cybersecurity. We also use third-party systems who have their own protocols, and we request an annual update every year for assurances on how they do their testing and whatnot. So there's quite a lot in place, and as James says, we always try and learn from others in the council if we can on this. Okay, thank you, everybody. I shall push on then. So section 4 is talking about the risk register, and I've already highlighted that Pension Board have made some suggested recommendations which are captured in 4.2 off the back of the changes to the regulations and the IMCO implementation. So the recommendations they've proposed are to invest 0008, and that's to update the wording relating to pooling to reflect changes in operational activities with the IMCO. And that comes back to the comment really that we talked about before, Corinne, about information exchange between the two entities. We need to make sure it's robust, secure and timely, particularly in this initial period where assets are moving back and forward between the entities as well. So that's been captured in updated wording in Invest 0008. Govern 0003 has been updated primarily to talk about risk and retention, risk associated with retention and appointments of the senior LGPS officer. This is now a statutory post. It will have to go into the council's constitution, we think, so that'll take some amending. That obviously places a risk on the fund, primarily because there's not that many senior LGPS officers out there who meet the requirements at this point in time. So the fact this is in regulations now, there could be a lot of funds looking for the same people. So it's just to acknowledge that risk when it comes to recruitment and retention of that post. But I think it goes wider than that. It's not just that post. I think we've seen across the industry lots of people moving between funds recently because there's lots of opportunities available for people. So that's been captured in Govern 0003. Govern 0008 has tried its best to try and capture that the regulations are becoming increasingly complex to manage and to operate, particularly for the administration team. At this point in time, there's layers upon layers upon layers of regulations which affect people in different ways. Some people are caught by all the regulations, some people are caught by some of them. So it's making sure that we have processes in place, like training, for example, that a team are aware of all the different complexities involved with the regulations. So Govern 0008 has tried to capture the complexity within the regulation changes, essentially. So those are the three proposals. Hopefully you've had the chance to focus on those three in the appendices, so I'm not going to go through them now. But I'll stop there, Chair, just to see if committee are happy with those proposals. The recommendation is that we approve them later on.
Yeah.
But I'll stop there in case there are any questions or anything on those.
Any questions on these proposals? Oh, I keep looking around. I didn't which way to look on the screen. Could do with a screen there, couldn't we? Okay, no.
I can't see any.
No, I can't see
I'll
any.
continue. So we'll pick up the recommendation on that
Yeah,
later on,
yeah.
if that's okay. Just to update committee on section 5, there's been no new breaches identified. So the register is included for your information, but there's no new breaches identified. Moving on to section 6, that's a request from me, basically. Committee be aware that annually I send out the training needs analysis forms. There's a requirement under regulations now that committee's training is evidenced, documented and logged. I've been doing that anyway, but it is now officially in the regulations that I need to be able to evidence that the committee have adequate training levels and the training needs are met. So this year I've tried something different. I'm aware that those forms that I send you every year are quite long, convoluted and complicated to fill. So I've tried a different approach this year and actually created an online form to try and make it simpler for you to be able to fill in and also simpler for me to be able to download the data, put it into spreadsheets and manipulate it to try and identify. So if it's okay with you, after the meeting, I'll share this link with you. Can you please have a go at it and see what you think? Provide me with any feedback, and once you're happy with that, I'll then submit the final training needs analysis. But it'll be online this year. Clicks of buttons rather than writing things down, so hopefully that'll be simpler and to operate and complete on your behalf. So I'll send that around after the meeting, Chair. So that was it. I have skipped through it. Hopefully I've given committee enough information about what's going on. So really over to the recommendations or any questions ahead of that, Chair.
Any questions, Karina?
Just about training, it says 10 hours a year. I don't know what constitutes training in your eyes.
It's a fair question. And I'm having to think about this a little bit, actually, Karina. Essentially, any webinars or anything like that where you're learning about any sorts of topics around investment, that would be captured as training. Any of the workshops we put on, for example, the one at the end of April, would constitute as training. And anything really where you think you've learned something about the subject. If I send you an email saying I've spotted this webinar, which I think might be useful for you, I'd class that as training because I'm framing it in that context, basically. So it's almost anything. I think you could say anything is training, to be honest. If you pick up something from today, I could class it as 15 minutes training, for example. But the way I'm thinking about approaching this is, whilst we've got a captive audience at a committee meeting, I think there might be some scope, depending on the length of the agenda, whether we could add some training on at the end of each committee meeting now, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. These meetings are already long. I don't know. We'd have to consider that. But that's one way of trying to tackle this approach. So.
Could I come back? So if, say, towards November, you realise I haven't done enough training, what are you going to do about it?
I'd create a bespoke training plan for you, basically. So I'd have a look at how you've completed the analysis, and I'd say we need to sit down for a couple of hours and figure out how to do this, essentially. So conferences and things that you attend, that would be classed as training as well. So those sorts of industry events.
So say if we went to the LAPF conference, 2 days, is that how many hours would you? sales training.
It would depend on the length of sessions. I'd allocate the appropriate time for when the first session started, the first session, last session ending, basically. So it could be 5 hours for that day, for example.
Okay, thank you.
That's Karina. Important questions. It's getting more and more on training
Yeah.
on the members of the committee.
You're learning all the time.
You've got to, but there is, you see, the government seem, well, everybody wants us to almost going professional, almost. It's just more, it is the way it's, they want you to train and know more and more.
And it's formally logged now. We have had to, sorry, Chair, I didn't mean to cut you off. We have some requirements under MiFID as well to evidence training. So from time to time, Dan will send me an email saying one of our investment managers has asked me to update because they can't carry out annual checks. And at that point there, I need to provide some evidence on training as well. So we have been doing it. We're already there, but I think there's more for us to do to make sure that it's logged clearly. And should somebody come along and saying, let's see the evidence, it's all documented and we can evidence it accordingly. But we're pretty much there anyway. It's just a case of the fact it's in regulation now. We just need to make sure we tick off that box.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, you've got a hand online from Councillor David Thomas.
Oh, David was.
You can't see it on your screen because
Oh,
it's on the Zoom.
Councillor
but
David,
Councillor
sorry,
David had his
I've
hand
already
up.
got this
Yeah.
councillor role there. Councillor David.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I just wanted to make an observation on the risk register itself because I'm getting a little bit confused with what we're saying in parts of it. A lot of the risks there, they're actually got a current status of amber. And then if you go across to the right hand column under status, it's saying control in place. So I've been reading through some of these, and basically what it seems to be implying is that the control that's in place is mitigating the potential risk to a certain degree. But it also seems to indicate that further controls are required going forward, or indeed further reviews. But what I'm a little concerned about is the very final column, review date. I can see we've got the latest review date and the risk identified in the second column, but there's no future review date there. So the risk itself is still there. It hasn't been completely mitigated. So if we had a date under the future review dates, we could understand what sequence we've got and how often we'll actually be reviewing those particular risks.
Chris.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely fair comment, Councillor David. I'm just looking at the risk register. It looks as though perhaps the right-hand side is just chopped off as well. The E looks as though it's a bit chopped off. I don't think it's included to the right of that, if I'm honest, but I think it's a fair point. I'll look at how I can present that differently for you when it comes to potential future dates and whatnot. So point taken, leave it with me. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thanks.
David. Okay then.
Of the recommendations, yeah.
Recommendation, sorry, just get back to recommendations, come down the screen a bit. To note the contents of the report, approve the risk register updates and complete the training needs analysis questionnaire once received. Right to do that on block and one
so.
to three.
Yeah.
You happy to do us the 1, 2, 3 on block? Can I propose a seconder, please? Adam, Councillor Adam, Councillor Crean, the seconder. Are you all in favour, please? Is that hand up, David? Oh, okay, thank you. Okay then, where are we now? Item 7, LGPS administering authority discretions. Chris.
Thank you, Chair. You're going to be fed up of me talking about changes to regulations, but as a result of the changes to regulations, it felt like an opportune moment to revisit the discretions that are in place for the council as the administering authority. So we've done that basically. So just for context, under the regulations, there are various powers that employers have, and the council has as the administrative authority for the Powers Pension Fund. That's in the regulations, and the regulation sets out that you must have a policy in place for these powers, these discretionary policies. Essentially, that's what this appendix is. It's a list of all those policies and the approach that the fund will take should they come up. This has been in place for some years. Because the regulations have changed, it made sense to revisit them and review them. So that's what we've done. So we worked with the actuary on these, and we've essentially done a deep dive and revisited every single one. And that's what's presented. The updated version is what's presented as the appendix to this report. I haven't included the track changes because it would have been horrendous to read and present to you, and it would double length of the report. But the changes are available should committee want to see them. But essentially, it's all of them. Very minor changes, however. What we've done is we've taken the opportunity to bring the wording up to date to match the current regulations. We've also just strengthened some wording around providing a bit more evidence as to how we tackle something. So an example off the top of my head I can remember was one of the policy says the pension fund must publish a governance and compliance statement. The previous answer was the fund publishes a governance compliance statement. What we've done is we've expanded that out to say it's also available on the website, and any decisions taken by the committee will be in line with the council's constitution. It's that sort of detail we've gone into within each of these discretions. So upon reading, there should be a lot clearer about how the fund will tackle these discretions as well. So we took that opportunity to strengthen the wording, which is why pretty much every one of them has been amended, because we have strengthened the wording in all of them. Another thing that we did, took the opportunity to do, was to just create an introduction to make it clear what the document's doing. That wasn't there previously, so hopefully that will help the reader follow what the document's for and how it will be implemented. We also brought the discretions for the councillor scheme into the document as well. That was previously separate, so it's all now in one document. And we also reformatted the flow of the document so it reads better, so all the appropriate discretions are all in the same place, so they're easy to read and follow. We also took the opportunity to insert some non-mandatory discretions as well. There are some that you have to do under regulations, and there are some that they suggest maybe you want to think about having a policy for. We've put a handful of those in, non-mandatory ones as well, just to try and make it a very comprehensive document. But there are still 4 or 5 of those non-mandatory left, which we need to consider. So they will appear at some point in the future for committee to consider as well. So I'm not going to take committee through each of them because there are a lot, as you will have seen. But I just wanted to paint the picture of what this document is, why it's there, and the fact that it's actually been there for some time and we've reviewed it and updated it. So that was really how I was going to present this item, Chair. Obviously, I'm very happy to take any questions on it if committee have any. But we are looking for, if committee are comfortable, some approval at the end.
Any questions? Karina?
Yes, I was just interested to see mention of children. You forget how complicated pensions are, how personal the service is. So I guess their dependents.
Yeah, but that's a fair point. I mean, children are covered under the regulations for survivors and benefits, for example. And it just brings it home that we are here for our scheme members in the day and their families, and potentially we're paying pensions for a very long time. So, and that's coming back to what we're all here for, really, is to make sure that we've got the processes in place to be able to do that accurately, on time, and as the individuals need as well. So yeah, that they are referenced, and there are some discretions which we have to have around those policies as well. Those are captured.
A very important question.
Yeah, it was. Thank you.
Hugh?
Chris, you refer to a reader in a general sense. Who are the readers of these policies besides people who perhaps here, if it was in the documentation, I would read it. I mean, it's a necessary document.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I'm asking, who reads it? Because there's a lot of work goes into these things, and there's work behind it. I mean, maybe a daft question, like, but
Not at all, Hugh. The people who read this might be people who've had decisions taken on their behalf. One of the sections, for example, covers employers that no longer exist. So let's say, for example, somebody works for an employer, they leave, haven't yet taken their pension benefits, but that employer becomes defunct or disappears in the meantime. The decision around that person's benefits, potentially ill health or something like that, will then fall upon the council as the administering authority. This document sets out the policy as to how that will be tackled. So those sorts of people are captured. They know, okay, my former employer is no longer there. What happens? They could read this document and it would point that out.
So it's very much a reference document in a sense.
And a process document as well, really. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? Adam?
No, and I've read it, and I genuinely appreciate the explanation given, and I have no problem when we get to the vote saying yes, approval. And I suppose what I am, but actually it's really difficult as a committee to genuinely analyse it without the track changes. I don't know what you've changed. I don't know what words we've stuck in or dropped out. So it's just a note that says, from what we can see and what we can read, it looks like a very good bringing together, updating, and therefore to be approved. But actually the line by line stuff, where are those significant changes you've made? We can't currently see. Not a big problem, I don't think, in this case, but as a note, as we're because we don't do this on a day-to-day basis, we do this on an ad hoc basis. You might not want to give us an appendix full of, but perhaps you ought to.
No, that's fair, and I tried to capture that comment in 2.3 to say it's extensive. So I'll circulate it afterwards, Adam, if that's okay. Just give that assurance.
Yeah, no, and yes, if we can have it after the fact, but I'm happy to when we get to approve at this point.
Noted for future, though. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, then the recommendation committee is asked to approve adoption of the discretionary powers of policies as set out in the appendix. Can I propose and second, please? Adam, Hugh, thank you. All in favour?
Yeah, happy, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, and David. Thank you very much. Okay, then. Item 8, overpayment policy. Chris.
Thanks, me again. Yeah, thank you, everybody. This is hopefully just a quick one. The committee might be aware that we've had an overpayment policy in place for 5 or 6 years now. It's come up for periodic review, which is essentially why it's in front of you today. And just picking up on your comment about track changes version, Adam, I thought I had included the track changes version, but it's not. This is actually the updated version. So apologies for that as well. I can share that. This has come up for periodic review, and it's a very light touch on this one. Processes haven't changed. One thing we have done is essentially insert a new section as another piece of information for scheme members, and that's captured in 2.2. Since we produced this policy last time, the Ombudsman has produced a fact sheet on overpayments, which I think is useful for scheme members to know. And I'd imagine that if a case went to the Ombudsman about an overpayment, they'd say, have you read the fact sheet? We're trying to signpost it at stage 1 here to say this is what the Ombudsman thinks when it comes to overpayments and whatnot. Other than that, it is real light touch, a couple of changes of wording here and there, but it is essentially as it was previously, just with that inserted section. So okay, hopefully that's enough for the committee to approve.
I just want to probably clarify my ask. I don't think we do on both of these. I don't think we do want track changes. I think we just want the office to say these are the key changes that we have made, and I don't think we need the grammatical ones. Yeah, so I don't think I want reams and reams.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, would 2.2 be a good example of that then, Adam? I've just said I tried to insert the wording, so section 17, additional information. That is the wording from the policy. Is that the kind of thing that you...
I've got to go back, but I think that is what I'm asking, yes.
Can't hear anything, Chair.
Trish has her hand up, Chair.
On Zoom. Trish, sorry, sorry. Trish.
Sorry, that was a legacy one. Needed.
Okay, sorry. I'm not
Thank
picking.
you.
I need to have a screen. I can't see them. Okay, thanks, Trish. Adam.
So as a broad comment, and I accept that what we're doing is we're acknowledging there's detailed information that should not be in the public domain. But I do reflect that there's some parts of what we're about to discuss, maybe under the responsible investment, which actually it would be good if we could find a way of exploring that and having those conversations in view of the public. So I'm not going to make the case for it here today, but I am going to ask if we can in the future consider whether there are elements of what we talk about that we should be more open about and more inclusive about, and allow the public to follow us on those discussions. An example would be, the discussion we're about to have on responsible investment, without necessarily then talking about the Aon. So I do accept these we need these things. I just sometimes wonder that we draw the line a little bit too high, and we should be slightly braver about the conversations we could have in front of public.
Say something, Chris?
Just say I don't disagree with you, Adam. Yeah, I think there's finding that balance is the right thing to do. And perhaps something will come out when we start working through the discussion. Perhaps that'll be a bit more clear. But I completely agree. Let's find that balance, and we can do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can this proposal seconded for the exempt items, please? Hugh? Anybody else have? Adam? All happy? We're going to exempt mode? Thank you.